Adventurous kids explore with education and learning what a wild life is in the Everglades. I want to explore the Museum of Discovering Science. What plants do butterflies like? I want to know about Key West. Adventurous kids, learning and fun. Adventurous kids!
Today I'm going to tell you about the Dust Bowl. The Dust Bowl was an era in the Midwest that suffered from drought during the 1930s and the Great Depression. The soil became so dry that it turned to dust. Farmers could no longer grow crops as the land had turned into a desert. Areas of Kansas, Colorado, Oklahoma, Texas, and New Mexico were all a part of the Dust Bowl. People called it the Dirty 30s. There were more than 100 million acres of land affected by the Dust Bowl. A number of factors contributed to the Dust Bowl. The first was a terrible drought, lack of rain that lasted for many years. With so little rain, the soil dried out. Also, much of the region had been plowed up by farmers to grow wheat or to graze cattle. The wheat did not anchor the soil or help hold moisture. After the years of abuse, the topsoil was destroyed and turned to dust. With so much of the soil turned to dust, there were huge dust storms in the Midwest. Dust made it hard for people to breathe and piled up to the point where houses were buried. Some dust storms were so big that they carried dust all the way to the east coast of the United States. Human mistakes made the drought worse. During the World War I, 1914 to 1918, farmers planted new fields of wheat. Their plows removed grasses that had held the soil in place. Cattle grazing on ranches removed more grass. The loss of the grass cover loosened the soil. Giant dust storms were called black blizzards. One of the worst storms occurred on Sunday, April 14th, 1935. High-speed winds caused great walls of dust to engulf entire cities and regions. This dust storm was called Black Sunday. It was said that the dust was so thick people couldn't see their own hand in front of their face. During the drought, fields produced only 1/4 as much wheat and corn as before. Farmers struggled even more because drought came during the Great Depression. The Depression was a time of great economic hardship. People whose farms were ruined could not find other jobs. Many moved to California where farms were still operating. Poor farmers who moved from the Dust Bowl to California were called Okies. The name is short for people from Oklahoma, but was used to refer to any poor person from the Dust Bowl looking for work. Around 60% of the population left the region during the Dust Bowl. Living in the Dust Bowl became nearly impossible. Dust got everywhere. The people spent much of their time trying to clean up the dust and keep it out of their houses. Many of the farmers had to move as they could not survive. Crops would not grow, and livestock were often choked to death by the dust. Farmers would sometimes string clothesline between the house and the barn so that they could find their way back through the dust. The federal government implemented programs to help farmers that stayed in the Dust Bowl. They taught farmers proper farming practices to help preserve the soil. They also purchased some land to let it regenerate in order to prevent future dust storms. It took some time, but much of the land had recovered by the early 1940s. Between 1934 and 1942, the federal government planted around 220 million trees from Canada to Texas in order to create a windbreak to protect the soil from wind evaporation and erosion. Many songs, books, and works of art were created to tell stories of the people affected by dust storms. Some of the most famous of these works are the novels of The Grapes of Wrath of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck, the song of folk music singer Woody Guthrie, and the photography of Dorothy Lang, who took pictures of many Dust Bowl refugees and their families. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Adventurous Kids.
What did you learn today? Adventurous Kids! Adventurous Kids! What was the most interesting fact? Adventurous Kids! Adventurous Kids! Adventurous Kids!